So, for this night, you are my half wife. Taehyung wanted to crack some joke as the air between he and Miss Kang seemed quite heavy to him. And from tomorrow, you are going to be my wife. Wow. Miss Kang just hummed. So, half wife, why are you still wearing same clothes? They asked her before taking the glass of milk. I have escaped from the dorm and I could only bring my documents. Miss Kang Wen answered in a low voice. I guess you didn't notice the clothes I have put in the washroom. Taehyung looked at her who was looking at the ground. May I? She asked in her usual polite tone and they just nodded. A faint smile already brightened his face. Can I use the guest room for tonight? I'm kind of tired. Miss Kang asked for permission before heading towards the washroom. They could see her nervousness, the awkwardness hidden in her silence. He knew they needed to have a good conversation, yet he could sense she was still not ready to be open up, to let him to read her like an open book. He just nodded his head. Miss Kang Wen entered into the guest room. It was beautiful. Miss Kang would definitely appreciate the interior of the room, but she had been living in dorms. The cozy dorm rooms might seem irritating to her, but in a winter night, only the thought of spending the whole night alone in such a big room made her throat dry. Come on, it's just a little scary. Not horrible. She secured herself in a corner side of the bed and closed her eyes. The next day, about 8 o'clock in the morning, Taehyung woke up, but the house was still filled with silence. He checked the wall clock and the time of his smartphone. Yes, it was already 8 a.m. in the morning. He remembered how Miss Kang used to be busy in the morning when she used to be with Junior. Taehyung checked his schedule for the day and his first class was about 12 p.m. Though he thought about checking Miss Kang, but after a few moments he decided to let her rest for some more time and he snuggled into his bed again. Cause he knew his mom will definitely arrive after 9 a.m. to collect the marriage registration papers. 9:10 a.m. in the morning. Taehyung's phone had been vibrating for last 10 minutes continuously. He guessed who would call him at this time. He opened his eyes and glanced at the caller ID. It was incoming call from his mom. He received the call. Mom, I was sleeping. Sorry. In spite of his deep, sleepy tone, he was polite enough to his mom. He got up from his bed and opened the door. Taehyung, give me the papers. Mrs. Kim asked for the papers in a demanding tone. You are still sleeping? Are you okay, son? Taehyung's puppy eyes made her concerned. They silently nodded and walked towards the cabinet for the documents. Here it is. They handed his mom the signed registration paper and his mom literally looked at the paper in disbelief. Though she prepared the papers by herself, but she didn't expect that the bride would sign there too. Though she knew they would do exactly what he was told to. Before Mrs. Kim could ask anything, Taehyung looked at his mom. Mom, can you please submit the papers as soon as possible? Though his mom was worried as she didn't expect this to be happen. Did you fight? I saw Wan's shoes. Is she sleeping? Did you force her to sign the papers? She asked her doubts out. They smiled. No, we didn't fight. Yes, she is here and she is sleeping in the guest room. I didn't force her to sign the papers. Please submit the papers as soon as possible. They answered all her questions with patience. Mrs. Kim was not satisfied with Taehyung's answers. She kept feeling guilty for preparing the papers. She wanted to have a good conversation, She wanted to apologize for forcing him for the marriage, but since that happened, what she wanted, she got no thread to continue the conversation. As you wish, my son. You will be notified as soon as the registration procedure will be completed. I have to leave now. If possible, let her to rest for the day. She patted Ante's shoulder before leaving. At 10:01 a.m., Taehyung's phone vibrated. He took his phone and clicked on the particular notification from the marriage registration office. Yes, he breathed out before heading towards the guest room to wake up his wife. Taehyung stopped in front of the guest room. The door was already opened. Didn't she lock the door? He mumbled before knocking on the door. Miss Kang? He called her name, but soon he chuckled, thinking she wasn't Miss Kang anymore. She was Mrs. Kim, more precisely Mrs. Kim Taeyong. Feeling some undefined rights upon Van, he pushed the door and entered into the room. Taehyung's jaw dropped as he saw Van, being curled into a ball on the bed. He couldn't believe in his eyes as she didn't bother to put on the blanket. Is she still alive? He murmured while placing his palm on his forehead. He was worried, yet seeing her in his clothes, a soft chuckle escaped from his lips. He was gently caressing her cheeks when he noticed her cheeks were tear-stained. They faintly smiled, remembering his mom's advice. He gently took her phone, which was pressed against her body, and put that on that nightstand. Sleep tight, my kitten. He gently pulled the blanket to cover Van's body, and she opened her eyes. She stretched her arms like she was just unswaddled while looking around. Wow, aren't you tired, Kim Taeyong? Meanwhile, Tae thinking, Kim Taeyong, how could you look so warm in this cold, sunny morning, cutie? She stretched her hand and raised towards Tae. She didn't realize it wasn't a dream and she would end up touching Tae. Tae thinking, cutie, wow. Her eyes almost popped out as she felt his fresh stubbles on her fingertips. In no time, she looked so pale yet red. Grabbing handful of blanket, she tried to cover her face just like a cute bunny. Taehyung didn't want to spoil this morning. He didn't want to, cause it was the first day. It was the first moment when he actually felt how does it felt to be married. He gently finger brushed her tangled hairs. Don't be embarrassed, little kitten. I'm all yours. Miss Kang had already started realizing what the reality was, and these words hit her eardrums. I'm sorry, she stammered in embarrassment. They handed her the phone from the nightstand. When just clicked on the notification and started reading the context when she heard Tay's voice. From tonight, you are not going to sleep in this room, wifey. It's okay if you want to rest today, but I have 2 classes and OPT duty after that. I have to go. They recited his schedule while Wan pretended to be asleep. Mr. King, Wan wanted to ask something, but as she looked at his eyes, they furrowed his eyebrows. Mr. King? Really, kitten? I'm sorry, Dr. Kim. Please. Correcting herself, Wan was about to speak when they stopped her. Dr. Kim, kitten, address me properly. You can call me honey, you can call me hubby, whatever you like. Look, I gave you options. I like ice. I will call you Ice Cube then, Wan answered. I hope this week is enough for me to change this nickname. You can think something romantic, wifey. They smirked, I need to get ready. Are you going? Wen sighed. I want to, but I doubt if. If? What if? There is millions of if in the probability list. Get up and face the only if that's gonna happen, wifey. They tapped on her shoulder and Wen growled. They, what happened? Wen, I'm not getting the vibe of being married. I just realized that I missed so much. They, do you want punishment duty? If not, then go and get ready. Wen growled again, but in lower tone. Why you are looking all cute and handsome when your act is all rude. Though she muttered, yet it was audible to they. 11 a.m. in the morning. Wen was waiting for Tay at the entrance of his apartment as she was told to. After a few minutes of waiting, they finally arrived, gestured her to sit on the passenger seat. Without a single word, Wen did so. You are looking great, wifey. They complimented Wen while she was busy with the seatbelt. Yeah, your t-shirt, your trousers, and my overcoat. And you are saying I'm looking great. Indeed. Thanks, Ice Cube. Wen smiled sarcastically. Have you ever looked ugly in your clothes? They asked while driving the car. Oh, come on. Countless times. Wen answered in a frustrating tone. But you would never look ugly in my clothes. You are looking cute. Thank you for agreeing to wear my clothes. They could feel the urge of cursing Wen, but he restrained himself. Looking straight, he kept driving. Oh no. If your car would have stopped at any red signal, I would definitely jump to kiss you. Wen spoke in a sarcastic tone as the car was about to enter into the hospital compound. I still can snatch your first kiss, Wen, in this parking lot. Taehyung teased her with a smirk. Indeed, Young Yeopa restricted me from dating, but that doesn't mean I have saved my first kiss. Wen chuckled. She knew her words could trigger Tae. She quickly stepped out of the car. Bye, honey. She didn't forget to tease him before leaving. Before leaving the house, when Van had checked the schedule, Professor Park and Professor Lee's name was written there. She sighed in relief and didn't think twice before triggering Tae's mode. The phone vibrated inside her pocket. She casually checked the notification and noticed Professor Park and Professor Lee will be busy to attend seminar and Professor Kim Tae-young was their assigned teacher. She immediately facepalmed herself. She knew soon she's gonna regret for whatever she had said him in the car. As soon as she stepped into the classroom, she could feel all the eyes were fixed at her. Did they get to know that I'm Tae's alleged girlfriend? She thought while securing an empty seat in the classroom. Somebody came to the dorm and claimed that he's your father. The girl sitting beside her informed her. Ultimately, the reality hit Van. And what about the last night? Did the warden? Her classmate. The warden had called a local guardian and he said that it was an emergency. He apologized as if forgot to sign on the attendance book, but what happened in the morning, I don't think the warden would allow you to stay in the dorm. The man was so fierce. She had to call the security. Her phone vibrated inside her pocket because another notification was received. She knew it was just a matter of time to receive the mail from the authority, and it was the mail from the warden. Wow. She breathed out. Before she could sigh, the professor entered into the class. Obviously, he was aware of what happened in the women's dorm. but Wan didn't know that. Through the whole class, Wan avoided eye contact with Taehyung. They noticed that, but as she was attentive to the class, he let her this time to avoid him. Yeah, he was still struggling with the words Miss Kang had told him in the call, but as soon as the authority informed about what happened in the woman's storm that morning, they decided to act mature for this time. After the classes, Taehyung had some time before joining his OPD duties. He was going through the patient's file, but he couldn't concentrate, and that thing about himself was irritating him. He knew Wen had an attraction towards him, but somehow she had restricted herself from showing that her stepfather issues and that forced her to get married overnight. Indeed, she needed fresh air, something out of the schedule, a long drive, a short tour, and then they remembered he had to attend some seminar at Daegu. And it would be a great opportunity for them to spend some time together. Knock knock, and he was interrupted. Come in, please. They turned around, and it was none other than his wife. He frowned as Van's face was looking extremely pale. Van was hesitating, and it was damn obvious. As she realized that, she quickly put on a fake smile on her face. Dr. Kim? She breathed out his name. What happened? They asked her. He carefully looked at her. She was trying to be calm. Assistant, wanna see my new cabin? They guessed it was something related to her stepfather, so he almost dragged her into the still work in progress yet empty room. Tell me what happened. Why are you looking so pale? He used his thumb to wipe the drop of tears from the corner of her eyes. Yoongi called me and I was in the class. Wen stammered. Call him back, they casually stated. Why don't you understand? He is my local guardian. The warden had called him last night and he lied. He had defended me. I heard my stepfather had come to the university as well. He is searching for me. He will not even listen to me. And what if he had gone to Yoongi-oppa's house? If he had to call me, he had called me in the morning or at night, but during my classes? What if my stepfather harmed Junior? Can you please go with me to his place? I don't dare. I don't dare to step out of the university compound alone. When she completed her monologue, she found she was hugging Ted tightly. A part of his shirt was already stained by her tears. Don't you think it's better to call him and confirm the news first? They held her more tightly in his embrace. I know I'm overthinking, but the reality is he called me and the warden called him. So I have to disclose the fact that I have signed the marriage registration paper prepared by my mother-in-law and the groom is none other than you. But believe me, I don't have the guts. Wen tried to break the embrace, but she was too weak to do that. Okay, I have some time, but you promise. Promise me that you will help me with the OPD duty. With his long fingers, Taehyung touched her chin and made her to look at his eyes. Wen nodded, and within seconds, they grabbed the car keys. Will it be okay if I hold your hand? Do you want to hear the whoa sound wave hitting your eardrums in the middle of the class? Indeed, she cracked the worst joke as she needed a reason to put on a fake smile. In front of Yoongi's place. What would you say if Oppa asks you why you signed on the papers? When asked before stepping into Yoongi's home. He knows my mom. He will understand if I say my mom told me to do so, and I did that. They shrugged his shoulders. But Dr. Kim Tae-young, he knows me too. Probably this would be the question if
I haven't signed on the paper. Wan wanted to prepare him for the upcoming conversation but almost started arguing. What a coincidence. Tehang, come in. And Goyangi, I need to talk to you. Come in. Definitely, Yungi was excited seeing Tehang. Where is Junior? Miss Kang asked him about Junior, but it remained unanswered. Oppa, where is Junior's file? Wan tried to get answer from Yungi, but her question remained unanswered this time too. Wan looked at Te, whose eyes were fixed on Wan. She gulped down all the humiliation and continued feeding Junior. Yeah, will you support me even if you know I'm wrong? They asked Yungi. It depends, Te. If you believe that you are right, you should have done that. You needed to do that to survive, to help other. I would support you blindly, Yungi answered. Yeah, I got married. They just spilled those words bluntly. Congratulations, Yungi maintained the formality. I'm married to your sister, Miss Kang. These words made Yungi to turn around. Are you drunk? Did you know what happened last night? She's gonna be expelled from the dorm. I received the email, that's why I called her, and now you are saying that you are married to her. Now don't say she spent the whole night in your place. She spent 2 consecutive nights in my place. First night she was drunk, and the last night she came to my place cause she desperately wanted to survive from her stepfather. She didn't come to your place cause she was worried about Junior. Her stepfather might end up hurting your son to force her to get married with the person he wanted. They spilled everything. Yoongi didn't utter a single word. He got up from the couch and walked towards his little Goyangi. Thank you for proving me a useless brother. Miss Kong turned her face. Where is Junior's file? At least you could tell me about Bastard Lee. Yoongi's eyes started pulling up with tears. His voice almost cracked. He might come to you. Please inform him that I'm married. And I am extremely sorry, Uppa. You had to endure all the humiliation because of me. Miss Kang uttered in a low voice. Yoongi kissed Junior's cheeks. We keep delaying the vaccination. His mother is busy, so am I. Miss Kang took Junior into her arms. My husband has OPD duty at evening. If you let me, I will take Junior with me for vaccination. Yoongi chuckled. You don't need permission to take my son with you, Goyangi. He patted on her shoulder. So, you have found your Mr. Perfect. Be happy with him. Their conversation was going on like this when the doorbell at Yoongi's place rang. I have seen this man in university today. I guess he is Mr. Lee. Yoongi, Goyangi, tell me, what should I do? Miss Kang, Oppa, do you have the first aid kit? If yes, then open the door. I should face him. Dr. Kim, please come and stand behind me. Yoongi, are you sure? Miss Kang, I tried my best to escape but could not. So I guess it's time to face him. Yoongi, should I inform police? Miss Kang, just give me 5 minutes. What if he just came to meet you? Open the door. Let him in. Yoongi opened the door. And Mr. Lee stepped into Yoongi's place. Seeing you after a long time, young master. Hope you are fine. Yoongi, I'm fine. How are you, Mr. Lee? Mr. Lee, I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. Where is my daughter? Yoongi, you have daughter? Who? As far as I know, you have a son. Mr. Lee, I'm asking about Kang Wan. Yoongi, Oh, you mean to say your stepdaughter, Mr. Lee? Yes, you are the local guardian. I'm pretty sure she's hiding here. I have some important matter to discuss with her, and it's between father and daughter only. Yungi, she is here. Let me call her. Goyangi. Miss Kang stepped into the room. Here I am. Yungi stepped back and stood beside Taehyung. Are you nervous, Tae? Tae. Only 45 minutes left to my OPD duty. I hope my wife won't be my first patient. Yungi. Your stepfather in law has the potential to be that. Mr. Lee. Dear daughter, I think you forgot what I said yesterday. I'm so proud of you, my daughter. You were attending the best med school of Korea, but you know, woman looks good anywhere but looks best in kitchen. Since it's a father-daughter conversation, young master won't interfere. Come with me. I will forgive you this time. Mr. Lee was about to grab her wrist when he experienced solid kicks and punches. Respected stepfather, I know I have made you proud. I know woman looks best in the kitchen, but I don't want to be the best. Yoongi chuckled. Did you know why I restricted her from dating? They looked at him with surprised eyes. Why? Yoongi, your wife doesn't need Napa cabbage to make kimchi. I don't want to warn you, but I think it would be helpful for you to understand her. Oppa, I didn't want to hurt him. He is just too weak for this father-daughter conversation. Please tell him what he must avoid in future in order to be alive. He is my stepfather after all and loyal employee of Min Group. At least call the ambulance. I'm going to take Junior with me. Don't worry, we will drop him at your place at night. Miss Kangwan took Junior in his arms. Hubby, help me to vaccinate my little heartbreaker. She pecked on Junior's lips and stepped out of Yoongi's place.